When we first got together, we did a lot of, we got together and did like potlucks and like gatherings at a park. And we just chit chat. And, that only lasted so long before people really want to do stuff, like start building stuff and doing stuff. So we did a lot of that in the beginning. And then we kind of transitioned into work parties. Like one time we did we helped a local farmer at like a farmer's market. And we helped them out weeding and stuff like that. So we did like a little work party like that. Lately, we've been actually doing a course together, the Building Community with Stefan Verstappen. We did that, and that was great. I mean, that really, because for a while, like we were kind of in limbo, really didn't know where to go. It's hard to build community. It's like Stefan says, like this building a community is like building a business. Like 70% of it, like 70% of communities and businesses, don't take off. So it's really difficult. It's really challenging. So to have something like a course that gives you talking points and ideas is really helpful. So I definitely recommend, communities that are trying to start out to definitely do something like that, something similar to a course like that. So we were doing that, or we're still doing that. We're almost finished with it.
It's funny you mentioned that because last night I was talking to Ernie Hancock and I told him on my website, that's probably one of the most important interviews people need to watch right now is my interview with Verstappen talking exactly about that. And there's you and your group and you're doing it, Yeah.
I was actually talking to a buddy of mine from my Freedom Cell a little earlier, and I was like chatting it up, like, "Hey, man, there's no liberty-minded conferences here in Florida, not that I know of, nothing that big." And I was like, "We gotta have some conference over here, man. Like, this is like the freest place."
You made the suggestion. Now you're responsible for it. You know how that works.
I just called Justin. Listen, I just called Justin from We Are Change about an hour ago. No, like 2 hours ago. 2 hours ago. So Justin hit me back, man, because I wanted to run it by him. I want to assemble the whole team. I'm about to light up the bat signal and say, "Hey, let's get this conference in Florida."
Yeah, because Florida is a good place to do it.
Hell yeah, there's no reason I should have to travel to Mexico or Texas to get a conference when I'm in the freest place in the world. I mean, let's make it happen. Sal Mayweather, let's assemble the whole crew. I mean, we got some great people out here, man.
I mean, Georgia's a bit iffy, but Alabama is also a pretty good state. My buddy who lives in Gulf Shores, Alabama, he and I argue. He reckons we joke, half joking, I say Texas is going to be the last place to fall. He's like, no, man, Alabama will be. Trust me. I'm thinking, well, maybe he's right. I don't know. Whoever's last to fall, I'll be rooting for him.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think we're going to have a nice run over here in Florida. That's for sure.
Yeah. When I say last to fall, I mean before it turns into what Australia and Austria and France are turning into now.
Well, shout out to the UK, man. I just heard that.
Yeah, Marie just told me about that.
Yeah, they just dropped they're dropping their mandates and guidelines and whatnot. So,
I mean, I'm happy, but I'm skeptical. My reaction is, what are they going to pull now? What are they? Okay, they're going to give the slaves a little bit more bread, but then we're about to take something else for coming from the other angle from them. That's my reaction. But call me cynical, or call me, some might call me a damn conspiracy theorist. I don't know.
This is Truth Conduit, man. This is where we, this is where we bring out those conversations, man.
Everybody, Chris McMillon. This is another episode of TruthConduit.com, and I'm with my old buddy Pablo Zambrano, aka Khalik Sim, who many of you know from my previous episode and a few pieces of work that we've done together. So, Khalik Sim is a poet, video editor, a content creator, and autonomy graduate. He's the author of Journey Through Perception, which is a collection. This is from your website. I thought it was a great summary. A collection of literature that is a record of vast emotions, ranging from inextinguishable hope to unbearable fear. I like that a lot. So,
That's before I got into copywriting. So
yeah,
I think I had some copywriting in me even before.
so you're from New York and now you live in Florida, where you've been very active building community to create basically resilience about of this war on humanity that's been going on. So that's really my first question for you: is what's going on with your networking with the Freedom Cell community in Polk County there in Florida? What's been going on there with that?
All right, Chris. Before we jump into that, let me just throw a curveball at you. Before, preparing for the show, not much preparation, but like as I'm waiting to get the Zoom link, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of in the spirit. Let me write like a poem, drop it on Truth Conduit.
Yeah,
And
do
so
it.
let's start with that.
All right, hold on. Let me put you on speaker view. Excellent. And I think
don't have a title for it.
Hey, maybe I can come up with the title, dude.
Okay, cool.
No, I'm joking. I know I can steal your work.
After you're gonna have to come up with it after the
okay.
Poem. But yeah, this is off the cuff. I just wanted to do something for like a community oriented poem, so to speak. So it goes: we chase the dollar and come up with loose change. We sport the golden handcuffs in exchange for the operating systems of our pure brains. We forget that there is no bond at the end of our chains, no dead president that we can befriend. There is no price tag that will secure us free range. The most valuable asset that one can maintain is a phone book full of liberty-minded humans. Street credit is the social currency. Street credit is the social currency taken in a community near you. That's what I got so far. I'm gonna add some more to it, but yeah.
That was awesome. You just came up with that.
Off the cuff, man.
I would have to listen to it again, but my initial reaction would be no price tag as a possible title. But again, I feel like there could be something better in that. That was really good. Yeah.
I really wanted to hammer home, like, when I go back, kind of edit it and kind of revisit the poem. I definitely want to add more to it, but essentially what I want to hone in is the street credit value, the street credit aspect of the poem, the social currency, because street credit, man, like I've been doing a lot of that, kind of jumping into, what I've been doing here in my community over here.
By street credit, you talking about agorism?
Yeah, social currency. That's what I'm talking about. Just kind of networking, pretty much taking what I learned within autonomy and applying that networking skills in my local community and building up that street credit. That's kind of what I'm talking about. But in regards to your question, one of the first things I did when I moved down here to Florida was, linked up with Freedom Cell. And there was a cell that was already created by, the guy that pretty much runs the cell. His name is Corey Ellerby. And I linked up with the Freedom Cell, the cell in my community. And that was one of the first things I did. So I've been with my Freedom Cell, the Central Florida Agoras, for almost like 2 years, a year and a half.
I was just going to ask you about the time frame. Yeah, it seems like when I first met you, you were in the process of moving, or you were just about to move, because you were definitely in New York when we first met.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I was so yeah, when I got into autonomy, it was like, I want to say March. Yeah, like the season started in March or something like that, and I moved in May. So you caught me like, in transition.
Yeah.
So I didn't really it wasn't until, let's see, it wasn't until like August of 2020 until like I really started like putting in some energy into the group. And
but sorry to throw this at you, but why? Because people listening might be wondering, why would someone move from New York to Florida?
Oh, for all the reasons you would expect. I mean, there was a lot of tyrannical stuff going on there, and it was a lot of synchronistic, reasons and things that happened that led to Florida. Like Florida wasn't really where I was gonna go. But my mother-in-law has a place out here, and it so happened that, the channels opened, and it was a wonderful decision. I drove through the checkpoint out here in Jacksonville. And New York was just, I mean, it's a lot worse than it was when I left, but it was pretty crazy, with all the
yeah, I can imagine. What do you mean?
Bands and everything.
What do you mean checkpoint in Jacksonville?
There was a checkpoint.
What?
So yeah, dude. This was around the time that there was a lot of travel bans. Like New York had a travel ban. So I'm pretty much like ratting myself out. So we traveled from New York into Florida during the travel ban, and there was an actual checkpoint in Jacksonville that was mostly theater. It was really like I guess you could call it what do you call it? Like a stage. It was mostly a stage. I mean, it was a lot of volunteers when we went through the checkpoint. But yeah, there was a legit checkpoint that we went through because there was travel restrictions within the states, especially coming into Florida, because there was a lot of, there's a lot of propaganda against Florida around that time. So yeah, we moved out from New York, and we've been in Florida since it's almost been 2 years. About to be 2 years in May. And,
okay,
yeah,
that's great. And so you were talking before I threw that at you. You were telling me, so you hooked up with the groups there. What happened?
Yeah, we hooked up. Man, we've grown so much. We started out with like, I don't know. It was like, I mean, people came and went, but like, let's say it was like 5 of us, and there's still kind of like the core group is really like 7 people that are really like core members, but we've went from like 5 people to like 26 people now. Most of them are not really active, but we got numbers. But yeah, in the beginning.
And what's the common thread that this group has?
The main thing that we always go back to is gardening. Like gardening and like homesteading and stuff like that. That's kind of where we're all at. There's
Did you have much experience gardening before moving down there?
No, I did. Like right before I left New York, I did an apprenticeship in permaculture at this with this group called I think Hellgate Farms. And that was my first time. And I didn't do much of it. Like I didn't spend that much time. I just did like once a week for maybe a couple months, maybe a month or two.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience. And I really started like, propelling into gardening and permaculture in like September, this past August, September is when I linked up with Jim Gale and Food Forest Abundance, which is like a completely different, separate thing than,
the Food Forest thing for me is high level. It's very impressive. The people who are doing it, I hear about it all the time. I met a guy years ago who had done it, and I looked at the website, Food Forest Abundance, and I'll definitely link it in the show notes. I mean, my question is, what about gardening and all of that has surprised you in both ways? What surprised you as far as how, oh, this is easier than I thought, and the other side, oh, this is a lot harder than I thought?
Oh yeah, there's definitely 2 sides to the coin. It's a lot easier than I thought, that's for sure, especially in Florida. You know what I mean? Where we could pretty much.
Yeah, you're cheating, man. You got to do this in Montana or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but we could pretty much garden all year round here. But one of the things I definitely found out was just the kind of the permaculture. And there's also a lot of like misnomers and misunderstandings of the maintenance as well. But for the most part, if you establish it, in the kind of principles of permaculture, things can be a lot more manageable. I wouldn't say necessarily more easier. I guess you could say that, but there's kind of we could talk about that technically, but yeah, so it could be a lot more manageable than what I've understood in the past, and it could be, if you're doing it on a commercial. If you're running a business, it puts a lot of wear and tear on you.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game if it's at large scale, or is it for just you and your family or your local community?
Exactly. Yeah.
The thing about Florida is I can relate, because when I started going down the rabbit hole and really I was never interested in gardening or plants or anything like that. And then I started slowly going down the rabbit hole. Then I was very interested, but I was living in Valencia, Spain at the time, which is exactly pretty much the same kind of climate as Orlando. People ask me, what's Valencia? What's the climate like? Well, it's pretty much exactly like Orlando. It's oranges. I mean, almost identical, to be honest. So we rented an allotment. It was about 20 minutes outside the city, and those guys knew what they were doing. And that's where I really started learning to garden. Now the soil may have been a bit different than what you're used to, but you've got the fruit there. You've got, it rarely gets under freezing. Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
And do you guys get together very often? Are you actually doing trading amongst yourselves? Have you created a trade network yet? So-and-so has got this, so-and-so offered this. What are you guys doing on that front?
Yeah, so let me back up a little bit. Like I was saying before, when we first got together, we did a lot of we got together and did like potlucks and like gatherings at a park. And we just chit chat. And that only lasted so long before people really want to do stuff, like start building stuff and doing stuff. So we did a lot of that in the beginning, and then we kind of transitioned into work parties. Like one time we did we helped a local farmer at like a farmer's market, and we helped them out weeding and stuff like that. So we did like a little work party like that. Lately we've been actually doing a course together, the building community with Stefan Verstappen. We did that, and that was great. I mean, that really, because for a while, like we were kind of in limbo, really didn't know where to go. It's hard to build community. This, like Stefan says, like this building a community is like building a business. Like 70% of it, like 70% of communities and businesses, don't take off. So it's really difficult. It's really challenging. So to have something like a course that gives you talking points and ideas is really helpful. So I definitely recommend, communities that are trying to start out to definitely do something like that, something similar to a course like that. So we were doing that, or we're still doing that. We're almost finished with it.
It's funny you mentioned that, because last night I was talking to Ernie Hancock, and I told him on my website, that's probably one of the most important interviews people need to watch right now, is my interview with Verstappen, talking exactly about that. And there's you and your group, and you're doing it,
Yeah, for sure. That was, man, if there's one of the most helpful things was taking that course together. And it's been consistent. There's been, a handful of us got together every Thursday night, and we've been, chatting it up and, doing talking points. So tomorrow we're going to finish up the course, and then we're going to figure out like where to take it. And another reason, like, I'm really happy to be here with you today, Chris, is because we don't have all the answers. Like, I really want to put out a announcement to say anybody within Central Florida, or just in general, that wants to like reach out to me or anybody in my community and give us tips and pointers, please, because it's I tip my hat to everybody building community. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy, and we don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers, but I think definitely using vehicles like courses or something like that. Like we've even done like the Exit and Build. We checked out the community building like events that presentations that Exit and Build has. Like we're hoping to do a work party / watch party for the Greater Reset. The 30th, January 30th, the Greater Reset is going to have a community building like day, and we were hoping to have I have a few things, landscaping stuff that I want to do on my property. So I'm going to try to bring out some of the community, people in my freedom cell, and do a little work party and then a little watch party after that. So yeah, we've been doing a lot of getting together virtual stuff, and we're really trying to take it to the next phase of just really building, maybe killing two birds, like get together, but build and do stuff and help each other. Work parties, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff tomorrow. That's
Are
really
you
good.
guys
So
within 20 miles of each other? You know, that's Verstappen's
good
rule. He's like,
question.
yeah,
Yeah,
make sure they're 20 miles with it. And I'm because that's what, because his reason was that's what the average person could walk in a day. And I'm
yeah,
thinking, why don't, if we all had bikes, you could double or triple that.
yeah. I remember you said that. Yeah. No, we're not. Actually, I'm like, um, we actually got one of my buddies, Rick. Rick, he was like pretty far out. He's like an hour and a half away from
That's
me.
me in relation to what I consider my group. I'm the odd man. There's about three or four families all within, very close out in East Texas.
Yeah.
And then there's me kind of heading towards further away, heading towards Dallas. And I'm like the middleman. So that's what I'm working on. I'm between the Dallas group, the East Texas group.
Yeah.
And just last week, I met a guy who's halfway between that East Texas group and myself because I know of another guy who I met in Jack Spirgo's community. We've yet to meet up, but so I mean it's hard geographically to stay within that range. It's you're lucky if you
It
could,
is.
but
Yeah, Stefan.
but I imagine this trade network, this line of a network going, where if I go out to that place out in East Texas, call so and so up. I'm passing through. Do you need anything? Or maybe I need something. Let's just stop, meet up,
Yeah,
make a quick exchange, and I move on my way. This is kind of
yeah. Silk Road. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
totally. I mean, most of the people in my group are in the Lakeland area, which is in between, like, I guess you could say in between me and Tampa. So they're in that area, which is not far from me. I mean, it's like be anywhere between 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I'd like to have more people closer in my area. So maybe we could start doing like little pockets and have, what John Bush and Derrick Rose, and all those thinkers pretty much conceive with the little pockets of cells and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that's something I'd like to do more outreach. Actually, the other day, there was an event in Orlando, and I got to meet two people closer to my area, and they jumped on our Freedom Cell. So that was great. That was really good because it's much closer to me. The guy in Dundee, and there's another person. Well, she's in Lakeland, but
Dundee,
it's
man.
wild. Yeah, Dundee.
There's a Dundee in Florida. I didn't
There's
know
a
that.
Dundee
I
in
think of
Florida.
Dundee in Australia, and there's one in Scotland. Cool.
Nah, there's a Dundee in Florida, man, where all the crocodiles are
Yeah,
at.
and there are alligators anyway.
Alligator, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
that must be
definitely,
weird. Oh man, I just can't imagine living somewhere like Montana or Florida where there's an animal out there that could eat you. I don't know,
yeah.
but that's just me.
Don't feed the alligators.
Sorry. So go ahead. What were you saying?
The 20-mile radius thing is a challenging thing, but I definitely understand. I definitely get what Stefan is saying. I want to get to a point where I have more people within my local community. I should be reaching out and maybe screening more people within like where I'm at, the housing community that I'm in the situation that I'm in, the gated community.
Someone that is doing the same thing, who's just killing it with that, just getting the community together, doing exactly what they're doing, group, watching these things like Verstappen's course, among other things, is our buddy Joshua. So,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, Joshua helped me out, man. Shout out to Joshua.
yeah.
He has helped me in
And
my
this is, for
community.
anyone listening, this is in the Bellingham Pacific Northwest area. And so any freedom minded people listening who haven't connected with that group, they can reach out to me or Pablo and we can get you in touch with Joshua for
He
sure.
has a really cool screening document that actually I seen from the Q&A session from Stefan's thing that inspired me to kind of do like a screening document, and he gave me all the resources for that. So I really appreciate. I'm gonna pick his brain when I link up with him later on next week. I'm definitely gonna pick his brain and try to bring some more value to my community. Like that's really the thing here, man. Like we gotta share information with each other because this is really daunting and just tough. It's tough to build community, and it's great. It's fun, but it takes a lot of work to do that. So that's why I wanted to reach out to you to do this, Chris, because I wanted to put it out there for people to help me in my community, get more resources and figure out more things to do.
Have you guys started like a formal kind of mutual aid group like Meals on Wheels or homeschooling or something like that? Or is it still just kind of getting together and doing things? Or is there some kind of kitty going on?
We haven't started anything like that. We're, one of the things we talk about a lot is like I was saying before, the gardening aspect. So one of the things we'd like to do is do like take the permablitz kind of application. Are you familiar with permablitz?
No, what is that?
The permablitz is basically crowdsourcing gardening, permaculture, like food forest gardening, right? So you take a community and you just do the installation for a food forest or a garden, right? So that's one of the things we kind of bringing us together, just the application of blitzing each other's properties, crowdsourcing gardening. So that's one of the things. We haven't really dabbled into homeschooling yet and other things like that, but we're trying to tackle, the crowdsourcing of food infrastructure.
So logistics has been your biggest challenge, it sounds like, with your community, just because you are so spread out. It's kind of spread out, but it's not that bad. It could be worse.
Yeah.
What other challenges, if any, have you come across with trying to get things done with the community?
I guess just trying to keep people involved. Also trying not to spread each other too thin, because I do find that, you have the people, you have people that, put a lot of time and attention in. So trying to spread that out, is one of the challenges, so that like maybe I don't overdo too many things and spread myself too thin. So trying to spread out a lot of the, the administrative stuff is a challenge. And just trying to keep like momentum, is a thing too. And because a lot, everybody has their things that they're doing, their own things and whatnot, their own life. So it's hard to keep people,
yeah. Here's something I'm guilty of. I'm the guy, you've got a group, and then there's always that person who's always there in the group, in the text chat or whatever, but never goes to the meetups, and just every once in a while will make a comment and nobody knows who this guy is. That's me with a few groups. Like there's the girl who started this one group, she and I know each other personally, so I'm cool with the girl who started it, but none I haven't met face to face any of those people in her group yet. But I'm doing my podcasting and I'm promoting them. I'm talking about them. Same with the Vibe group in Dallas. I've met a few of them in person, but on other events, but I've yet to make one of their meetups. But I'm always promoting them and talking about them with my podcast. So maybe that'll make up a bit of my absences, Storm and Travis, if you're listening. But. And then I
wanted to say something on that. I forget her name, but she's a part of like the getting shit done community. But she had mentioned like
the getting shit done community. I like that.
Yeah. That one of the things she had mentioned in like the Exit and Build conference for community building was like, because someone asked that question, like, how do you get people involved? And one of the things that we're going to try to implement in our group, and what we added to our screening process, is like putting it on the application, like if you want to join our community, like can you will you have the time to like link up with us, or do stuff within the community? Is that something that you see?
The question should be, are you willing to take the time to link up with us?
Exactly. So that's one of the things that could kind of screen, like if you don't think you're gonna have the time to link up with us in person and things like that, then maybe this is not the right community for you. So that's like one of the things that we have a screening document that we have, that's one of the questions. And I think that is helpful because, it does, when someone sees that, it'll, they'll think like, okay, do I really want to, do I have the time? Maybe not yet, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I mean, every case is different. You just got to go. It depends what you want with that group. Or you could make a really hardcore group and say, look, this is for people who are meeting up only. And then you've got the more decentralized outskirt group, which is fine, circles within circles, I'm talking about. An example I can think of that's both centralized and decentralized is Jack Spirko's community. Okay. The Survival Podcast has got a huge Telegram group. Then there's another group that only people who have physically attended his workshop on his farm can be a part of. But then this is over an expansion of many years. So there's a lot of people in that group, but they've never met each other. So in a way, everybody has that common bond. They've actually been out at Jack's farm, but a lot of people don't know each other either. But it's a very practical group because people are always dropping information, coming up with questions, about permaculture and hands-on farming, gardening, crypto. And it's a very, very valuable group. And so challenges, you've always got someone who, it just depends what they want. You just ask them, okay, dude, you're hanging out, but you're not participating. Are they adding value? And if not, I don't know. Like you said, some people just waiting for the right time.
I think that's a good portion of our group. Like they're just kind of waiting for the right time or kind of getting the feel, because we kind of been in a little bit of limbo. Like sometimes we're on, like we have like months where like there's things popping off, and then months where like it's a little quiet. So I think some people are just trying to figure out where and we're all trying to figure out like what our place is and what exactly it is that we're trying to accomplish with the group. And I think we've made some leaps and bounds, and I'm really proud of like where we've come. And I have some big goals that I want to help, bring and facilitate within the group, in the foreseeable future.
Do you guys plan to formalize it? Like get a gardening mutual aid group going, maybe create an LLC, non-for-profit or something like that? That's definitely something I'm thinking about doing and would love to do. Just remember what Verstappen said, you only need 2 people. I mean, my wife and I could start one, if we wanted to, and then get the others to join us. It seems easy, but I confess I haven't actually sat down and said, okay, what do we need to do?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we've spoken about and we're interested in doing. Whether it be like a community garden or whatever it is, like that's definitely something. And I think
Pablo, community garden.
Right. And I keep my ears, like I'm constantly watching material and listening to things, and like
what are some of your sources?
Anytime,
like what podcasts you listen to? Where you going to do research?
I listen to Jack Spirko.
Yeah. That's all you need right there, man. No, I'm joking.
A lot of the conferences, like I keep my ears to these conferences, like the Exit and Build conference that have passed, the Greater Reset conference that's about to happen. They have a lot of material for solutions, and that's what I'm constantly paying attention to. Whenever there's a conference or something, I try to pay attention to the community building aspect. And, that's where I get a lot of my resources.
Do you know Marjorie Wildcraft?
Yeah, that's another one. She's another resource. I'm actually signed up to her newsletter, her community garden newsletter or something like that in Puerto Rico, because I just want to see, what she's doing, how she's doing it, just to get ideas and to bring as much value and resources to my community.
And the original guy, though, of course, was Joel Salatin. You remember him?
Yeah.
Joel Salatin was a huge, remember he wrote that book, Everything I Want to Do is Illegal. And folks, this ain't normal. I mean, he was hilarious. There's a guy who I met at Spirko's workshop, and he's a frequent guest on his roundtable council. The guy's name is Nick Ferguson, and he is just this badass permaculture guy, okay? He had a podcast for a while, and he only did it for about 2 years, and then he stopped. He says, I don't have time for this. It's been fun, but it is really good source. I found it. I mean, it is excellent. He reads it, but his show notes are impeccable. I have learned so much, and he's still around. I mean, he's creating, the last I heard, he's creating his own permaculture course. So I said, dude, you'll keep me in the loop. I will be the first person to sign up when you get that going. He's still going out to Jack Spirko's farm with the workshops and all, but he's a young guy. And I looked at his website, and I still use it as a reference. I've linked it a few times in the Grand Theft World newsletter as in the solution section as a source, particularly the piece he did on mealworms. It was because of the episode he did on
I seen
mealworms that I finally started. I've got mealworms going. I'm doing it. I'm raising them, and
Kicking ass, Chris.
yeah. So learning there's so many good sources out there, like
Yeah.
Jack Spirko, Nick Ferguson, Marjorie Wildcraft, Joel Salatin. I can't recommend, a classic Joel Salatin. He's still on the circuit, still speaking. Who else has been a good influence on you, Pablo?
Who else? Obviously, John Bush, Derek Bros. You know what I mean? They've been massive influences. That's how I linked up with my group from the Freedom Cell. So
Yeah.
they've been. I constantly keep an eye out on. I was actually here. I volunteered with Derek during the activation tour. When he came out here like several months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely the conscious resistance. And yeah, John Bush is killing it, man. John Bush is definitely putting out a lot of like solutions and community building material. So that's really good. His exit and build conference was really good. I found.
Are people in your group mainly familiar with all of these characters, these disreputable characters that we're talking about?
Yeah. For the most part, we're pretty much, we all kind of have some of the same. We all know some of the same usual suspects, within the alternative sphere. So, yeah.
Do you think what about like water projects? That, are you guys involved in any of that? I'm thinking pond building, aquaponics, projects like that. Have you guys? I mean, it seems like you're focusing on gardening and food forestry. I'm just kind of seeing what else. What's on your radar? What are you doing well? What are you hoping to do better?
So I'm doing a rainwater catchment system.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so we're doing that. I got a few barrels. We're gonna plug, connect into the the gutters, and then I'm also gonna have a composter that we're gonna build on that day. But we're nothing on that scale. I mean, we do have one of the guys in our community. He has a really intricate aquaponic system that he has. It's pretty sick. It's a pretty big system that he has.
See, that's perfect. So at least one person in your group knows how to do it. So you're finally there. You said, okay, it's time for me to do aquaponics. You guys can reach out to him, and because he's done it. That's what it's all about. If one or two people in the group is doing it or knows how to do it, that's all it takes. You get together. Okay, today this is it. We're going to teach each other to do this or to do that. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's why networking is so important.
Oh man, networking has been like one of the major catalysts for some of my I guess you could say success in since I left my my corporate job. Networking is what has helped me stay afloat and remain positive. I mean, it's the networking is why I got connected with Jim Gale and Food Force Abundance, and I've been working with those folks over there. And whatnot, and I got some people in my community to work, in Food Force as well, which has been great. So that networking is just like that street credit and that social currency is very useful. It's definitely helped me tremendously, and I've learned a lot of that for sure. I got to give credit to Autonomy, just from that whole incubation period at Autonomy. Definitely helped me out a lot.
You're creating some really good content on your website. You're working on a follow-up to Journey Through Perception. You're working on a follow-up. How's that coming along?
Yeah, I'm actually in the manuscript phase right now. I just reached out to a publisher, and I should be pretty much wrapping that up within the next, definitely before the summer. So it's a Journey Through Perception, Part 2, Diary of the Insignificant. There's going to be a collection of poetry. I guess the whole synopsis of this book is just like a transmutation project where I literally, like 4 years ago, I told myself, like right before I quit my job and whatnot, I was like, I want to document, like through poetry and a little bit of journal entries, just my like transformation. Because I knew, like, before I was going to quit my job and leave New York and everything, I was feeling insignificant, and I was feeling like, there got to be something more. So I started with the concept of how I want to feel at the end of the project. I want to feel like I found some sort of significance. And that's kind of where the whole concept of the book came about, where I was like, okay, it's Diary of the Insignificant, but that's how I feel now, 4 years ago. But at the end of the book, at the end of the process of the book, I want to feel like my place, like I'm doing something, bringing some sort of value to people around me. And I like to say, manifestation is a beautiful thing, man. And I freaking manifested the shit out of life. And the book is kind of like a representation of, the period for me, like transitioning from my corporate job, from like, checking in, clocking out type situation, and kind of just living through faith and operating from a place of just, gambling on yourself. Like the Journey Through Perception, Diary of the Insignificant, is me gambling on myself, is a transcription of a man gambling on himself. There you go. That's the project.
Your latest poem was excellent. The unfinished puzzle. Yeah, that was just out a few days ago, man. That was awesome. What was that about?
I appreciate you checking that out, man. That was a piece that I wrote. I'm not sure if I wrote that after I did my ayahuasca trip or before, but it must have been around that time where, I was just doing a lot of shadow work and self-reflection and kind of like, reaching out to my mother, like mentally, spiritually, and like kind of understanding, that my mother's just a human being, and, she'd been through a lot of trauma and a lot of stuff. And it was kind of me kind of having that reflection, self-reflection of, okay, I get it. I never really had like the connection that I wanted to have, but I understand that she was just coming from a place of hurt and of just trying to do the best that she could. And it was like that aha moment where I finally was able to find that missing piece of the puzzle. And I completed the puzzle piece where I was able to connect and understand my mother on just that level.
I never quite realized how robust you are. It was difficult to see it while you were busy financing our comfortability. It was difficult to notice while you were receiving threats by your husband, my father. It was challenging to spot how much of a boss bitch you were while you were receiving punches square to your face. It's easy to take for granted the hand that fed you, especially when that hand was absent at the dinner table. It was easy to resent you for being so weak and foolish, unaware of the trauma you've received as a battered woman through your many relationships and dysfunctional upbringing. The puzzle is undecipherable until the pieces come together. It has finally dawned on me how remarkable you are as a mother, and how incredible you are for pulling through in the height of your adversities. I love you, Mom. I get it. I understand.
You feel the rawness, you feel the tenderness in my reading of the poem, in my kind of like presentation of doing it. And I always wanted to do that piece. I've been wanting to like do it.
Where did you get the music? You know, it all came together for you. All your videos pretty much like that. And you made an autonomy montage there. It's in your playlist.
I threw that in there.
Yeah, threw that in there, man. It was really good. I mean, I don't know, man. If you giving it to Joshua, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, art is just composition. You know what I'm saying? It's just putting things together. It's being a pirate and stealing shit and kind of making it yours. And like open source. That's why I love open source. And I'm such an advocate for it. And anybody can use my content however they please, as long as they shout me out. You know, and that's kind of like, you know, the music and the composition of it all is just like, you know, the things that I enjoy, the things that I like, and I feel like, you know, I want to pay homage to it. I'm trying to remember, the track for Finished Puzzle. I just synchronistically, man, like I sat down that day, literally. I was like, okay, I'm in this creative spirit right now. I want to put something out. And I was like, okay, I have a few poems that I want to work on. And I was like, I think it's time for me to work on Finished Puzzle. And I literally sat down and I was like, okay, what am I gonna, like, what's the backdrop? What's the background music for this? And something just hit me. It was like, oh, I want something like, I forget what I typed in YouTube. I was like, I want something like this. And it came out, it was perfect. And yeah, it came out really well. And it's just, yeah, like I said, a lot of my artistic expression is just composition, just putting things together, you know, stealing a little bit of this, you know, throwing a little bit of that, you know, and that's just kind of how things work for me.
What's on your plate right now?
So I'm working on, you know, finishing up the book, finish up Journey Through Perception Part 2. Working with Food Force Abundance, you know, shout out to Jim Gale and, you know, all the people in that team. They definitely gave me second wind, because for a while I kind of gave up on permaculture and gardening because I didn't know like how I was going to do it, how I was going to bring currency, bring income from that applicant, you know, from that.
You mean add value? That's what I consider it.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know how I was going to do it. You know, I had a love for it, or I have a love for it, just being out in nature. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. And it's a synchronistic story on how like that all happened. But yeah, so I have Food Force Abundance. I'm working with them, super stoked to be teamed up with them and, you know, doing you know, contracted with them and doing installations with them. I got some videos on my YouTube of some of the projects that I've done. I've done one in Sarasota. We did a project in Sarasota, the St. Cloud project that is Jim Gale's, you know, self-reliant community. We did one in Orlando as well. And we have some stuff coming up in the horizon. So what else? Building community. That's one of my like main focuses.
How's your health? How old are you now?
I'm 31.
Yeah, you staying fit? Yeah,
I'm staying fit, man.
Eating well, staying strong.
Well. I'm trying to I'm on the carnivore diet. Well, I'm trying to do the carnivore diet right now to see how that fits.
You know, Yoda would not be happy. Mm-hmm. No try, only do.
That's a fact. Shout out to Yoda. Quotable for sure. Yeah. So, what else?
You mentioned the carnivore diet, but I mean, ketogenic is the next. You know, I mean, does it have to be so extreme? You know, you and I both know a few carnivores in the autonomy group. I've been trying to stay as keto as I can, but I've been failing consistently these last few weeks.
The holidays, man, it's hard.
yeah, exactly. The keto is, I feel great. You know, when I eat bread now and sugar, I feel like crap. But
hell yeah, it's definitely the way to go. I'm starting to see that, and my wife's really she's really excited about it. You know, so she's been doing a lot of research and, you know, and when I just finished watching a documentary that really helped out. It gave me some good like analogies that helped me understand, you know, why that way of eating kind of gives you more energy and kind of, you know, spaces you out. So yeah, that's definitely, you know, another thing on my plate, you know, trying to maintain wellness and make sure I keep that in check, you know, for sure.
What about New York? Have you been back lately?
I went back in August last year. What was your perceptions? What did you think? What was it like compared to Florida now? Oh man, it made me appreciate Florida a lot more. because it's crazy, man. I mean, I remember one time when we went back, my wife and I went out to eat in Manhattan in the Belly of the Beast, and it was a joke, man. It was really New York is a stage. It's a stage. Like the traffic situation out in Manhattan was just ridiculous because they started putting these indoor outdoor restaurants in the streets, making more traffic, making it even more difficult to travel in the city. So it was just ridiculous. But yeah, I'm so happy I'm not in New York. It is ridiculous, the stories that I hear from my friends, from my family members.
Did you drive there or fly?
I did. I drove there.
What was that like?
Yeah, I wanted to visit more people on the way, but it was kind of like a last minute thing. So like I would have loved to have visited Richard, going down that way, but it was just kind of like a last minute thing. So I wasn't able to visit, but hopefully in the near future, when I do head down that way, I'm going to visit more people. Because we have an immense network of people in autonomy and whatnot. So.
And I think what I'm getting at as well, like what you went through, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, right? What was the different states? Could you see a big difference as far as the level of BS in each state as you went?
I noticed it when I was moving from New York to Florida. Like as soon as we made like a stop, it was like in the Carolinas. I knew I was not in New York anymore. It was like nobody had the masks on. You know what I mean? For the most, it was like not everybody, but it was way less. And it just felt different. I definitely feel acclimated. We acclimated real quick. We liberty-minded folks. So it's crazy. Like when I was in New York, I was a part of a Freedom Cell. I believe I was, or maybe there wasn't one in my area. And it didn't have that energy like that, but coming down over here, we just have that, don't tread on me type spirit a lot more over here. So I love it. Get the hell out of these cities. That's for sure, man. I tell all my family members, I'm like, there's no reason. If you're thinking, if you're of a like-minded spirit like myself, you got no business in those places. I mean,
yeah, get your kids out of school and get out of the city 2 years ago. 2 years ago already. People still got their kids in school, still live in the city, are just asking for a lot of problems. Yeah, for sure. Let's wrap up. Pablo, any final thoughts or plugins, anything else you want to throw in there?
Anybody in the Central Florida area, Polk County area, if you're hearing this, and you need a community, you need some like-minded people, please reach out to me. If you have Telegram, we are the Central Florida Agoras. So yeah, reach out to me.
Yeah, and send me the links, and I'll even link them in the show notes to Telegram links.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely going to screen people, but yeah, reach out to us. We definitely want more people in our group. And I definitely like more people closer to me within the Polk County area. If you're in Davenport, within the Polk County area, please reach out to me. And if you have any material, anybody watching this, if you have any resources or you want to link up with us, do a virtual chat and just give us some value. I'm doing this thing. Like I got together with Chris. Thank you so much, Chris, for, bringing me on. Because I did this because I want to bring more value to my community. And I want to, bring as much as I can to my community. And I'm pouring as much as I can. So yes, if you're in the Central Florida area, holla at me. If anyone knows of any conferences in Florida, I don't know of any. But if anybody knows of any, reach out to me. If not, reach out to me if you are interested in doing something. I think I'm going to start the conversation. We should have a conference in Florida. There's no reason there shouldn't be a liberty-minded conference out here. Anything else?
How can people reach out to you?
My website, kaliksim.com. You can reach out to me through there, or you could just email me, PAJUNIOR90 at protonmail.com. That's Pa Junior 90 at protonmail.
What the what?
Yeah, I need a better email address. That's what I'm working with now. Don't judge me, Chris.
Yeah, no problem with Proton Mail, but yeah. Okay, I will.
Yeah.
I will add that in the show notes as well. That's
I'll give it
awesome.
to you. Yeah, thank you for doing you do a wonderful job with show notes, man. James Corbett definitely left an impression on you with your elaborate show notes. Anything else I want to say? Yeah, Journey Through Perception will be coming out. Check out my page, guys. I got some cool content on there. I'm trying to put out as much content as I can.
Thank you very much, Khalik Sim.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Chris.
Walking down the street, the children play. For them, it's just another day. The future's reflected in their parents' faces, who chose to stay on in this place where they were born, went to school, got married, and kids, like their grandparents before them did. Got to escape, before it's too late. Although today I can say that I really will miss the point.
You've been listening to truthconduit.com with Chris McMillon. Go to the subscribe page and sign up to get notifications of the latest posts. And check out the support page to help keep it going.
Yeah, I've got a friend in Jesus Christ. I've got a friend in Jesus Christ, and Krishna and Buddha and my bartender.
Have you found that your skills aren't matching up with the challenges ahead? Here are 19 essential skills for success that school never taught you. Get your free copy by following the link below or visit getautonomy.info/19skills.